Retro. No.
RetroZap.com proudly presents a podcast beyond your experience, beyond your imagination. The Dune Cast. With your hosts, Joe Tavano and Rod Johnson. Featuring news, analysis, and discussion of everything in Frank Herbert's Dune universe. And beyond. I have seen it. Rod, have you seen it?
I have seen it.
We have seen it. Welcome, everyone. Have you seen it? Have you seen the film? Welcome back to the Dune Cast. This is a monumentous day. Momentous. Monument. Is monumentous a word? I don't even know. I don't care.
It is.
It is? Okay. I am so excited.
Pretty sure.
Momentous, perhaps. It is a day that I will never forget because we have seen Dune and we are here to talk about it and record this episode that has been fated since the dawn of this podcast back in 2016. We have been excited about this film. Think about that. Even before we recorded our first episode, we were thinking about that.
I remember talking about it when we were like, oh, movie or TV show would be awesome, you know? And,
yeah.
And then when the news started coming out, it was just...
Yeah.
I felt like this day was never going to come.
Especially the past year or two. Yeah.
You're like, oh, I need a little more brightness in my life.
Oh my gosh!
Please just release.
But
I'm glad that they held off and we got the theatrical release that this movie deserves.
The way it was intended to be seen, the theatrical release was done. It's done hella good at the box office. Number 1 in the U.S. Number 2 in China opening weekend. The international box office is doing killer. So it's I believe it's Warner Brothers' number 1 release in like the pandemic era. So it's beat Kong vs. Godzilla, everything else that's come out. So it's doing really well. I believe the legendary
Tenet.
What?
Beat Tenet.
Yeah, beat Tenet. That's for sure. Yeah, it's I don't think we have anything to worry about when it comes to the Dune franchise. It is strong. It is getting stronger, and there's like Chani says, Chani, I guess they call her. This is only the beginning. My name is Joe Tavano, and joining me as always my co-host Rod Johnson. What are you going to say, Rod?
I was going to introduce myself, but you did it for me, so thank you.
Yes.
But I will say the pronunciation, I'm always used to saying Cheney.
Yeah.
And then all the shit. And everybody says Chani. It's like the Leto.
I know. Yeah. It's still Leto in the new movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Leto.
I always say Leto.
Leto. Yeah. I think I say Leto. Leto.
Yeah, I think you're a Leto.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, man. This, Brian Herbert said it multiple times that this is the definitive adaptation of Dune. The definitive film adaptation of Dune. And I believe he is correct. 100%. What do you think?
I think we've been saying it all along. We got the perfect director for it.
Yeah.
It was a huge passion project, and he stayed very true to the source material and gave us what we wanted.
Yeah.
Except for he only gave us half. Let's get started on the second part. Chop.
Keep that going. Yeah, I feel like now that, Warner Brothers and Legendary knows that they have a hit on their hands, they should start filming some movies back to back to back. Like, let's get that going. Let's have Dune Part 2. Let's get Messiah. Let's get Children. Let's get God Emperor. And let's go to those, slated. And, then maybe we'll talk about Heretics and Chapter House. Don't want to get too greedy, of course.
No.
That was a conversation on Twitter. I'm like, I think so.
Nope, give it all.
Yeah, I said I really want to see God Emperor on film, and they're like, don't be greedy. I'm like, well, I'm not being greedy. I didn't ask for heretics and casting for Miles Pegg yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What a movie. What were you surprised at? What were you surprised at? I don't think we need to do a book report on this. I'm sure everyone listening to the show has already seen it, and seen it in IMAX too. But what were you first surprised at in this movie? What struck you as interesting?
I would say more Jessica. We got a lot more Jessica. She was a much more prominent character, and I thought Rebecca Ferguson was great in that role.
I have a major crush on Rebecca Ferguson right now. I gotta be honest
The
with you.
freckles showed up really nicely on the IMAX. I don't know if it was filming out in the desert, out in the Jordanian desert, but I have never noticed her freckles
Yeah,
before.
yeah. Her, she was
But as a much more nuanced character, you saw more of her as the concerned mother, during the whole Gom
her
Jabbar test scene, and she's out there wringing her hands, she's nervous, she's saying the litany.
tour
I
de
was like, this.
force, tour de force acting. I think that out of everyone in this cast, she probably had the hardest, the most weight to lift, and did the best job out of everybody in this entire cast. I think that it all hinged on her performance.
Yeah, and Denis has been talking about how he went to screenwriters and said, I want the women to be more prominent, more powerful
Mm.
characters in the universe, and I feel like Jessica definitely was.
Well, yeah, yeah, and it makes sense too. Yeah, I think that Jessica's vulnerability was all on display there, but her power and strength was there too. Like, you saw her vulnerability in private. You saw her be the mother she needed to be to Paul. You saw her be the Bene Gesserit, that heretic Bene Gesserit. You saw the fear of the Reverend Mother. You saw a lot from her performance, and it was most of it done silently or in Chekhov's battle language, right? I mean,
Yeah,
it's
or the
wild.
the Atreides battle language.
Yeah,
You saw
that is
that when
Chekhov's,
during
right?
the Chekhovs, the Fremen.
Oh,
The Atreides battle
it's just
language was
battle
the
language.
the hand language.
Yeah, it's just
And
Atreides
so,
battle language. Yeah.
yeah, so then when she's picking the shout out,
Mm-hmm.
she's giving standing up to her, like she walks around, everybody's got their eyes down, and Mapes has their eyes up, and she's like, this is the one I want.
Yep. Hey,
And then,
there's a part in that's one scene. That's the only scene I thought might have had a flaw.
okay, is it the she didn't wet the Chris knife?
Yes. Yes.
but
Why did
but
she
did you
not?
notice at the end of the movie the Fremen wetted their
They
Chris knives
did.
after they pulled them
They
out?
they
And
did
I
it
was like,
right.
because I noticed it when it happened, I was like, okay, so they're not going to do the whole wetting the Chris knife. Well,
Yeah.
small quibble. I can get past that pretty easily. But then at the end, I was like, well, wait, these Fremen are wetting their knives
But
before they.
Mapes does it in the book. Is it because she gifted it? I don't get it.
Well, in the book, it's the whole, she's because Jessica calls her on it. Like Jessica has, the Bene Gesserit intuition. She's like, you put that knife away unblooded, and Shout Out freaks out, and then Jessica cuts her chest a little bit to put blood on the blade, but
Yeah. Maybe it was
they didn't
cut.
do that.
Maybe the scene was cut.
Yeah, but I enjoyed that they put the whale in there. And she
Yeah.
called it a Chris knife, and she wailed.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, yes,
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. It was like whale. I'm like, we're in the desert, dude. I'm by the
yeah,
ocean now. I hear whale. I'm like WH.
mhm. Yeah.
um.
So I mean, that was a great scene though. I really enjoyed that. I felt like
Yeah.
that one. There were some small things they changed here and there, and then there's others. You're like, this is lifted directly from the book. Like this is exactly from the pages.
Yeah. I've been moving, so I haven't been able to reread Dune immediately preceding watching it. What did you see that was different?
The I'm trying to think. So there was obviously that scene was different. The Missionaria Protectiva, they made
Yeah.
a background to it.
Yeah.
Um,
I like how they actually
yeah,
discussed it. I really like how they gave you the description of what the Missionaria Protectiva was without actually just talking about it, the name.
yeah,
You
we've
know?
done what we can.
Yeah, yeah.
But
We've
then
we've laid the
the
path, the what is it? We've laid the way for you. We've
yeah,
prepared the way. I'm like, that's awesome.
but they didn't do like Gaius Helen Mahayam talking to Baron Harkonnen about the whole plot to overthrow the Atreides.
Yeah, very
But I
interesting.
enjoyed the Cone of Silence. I enjoyed, and also the Bene Gesserit protecting. Like, no, you have to protect Jessica and Paul. They're under our protection.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I thought that was very cool. Yeah, a little bit. That scene was all played out a little bit differently.
But
Because of course no emperor at this point.
yeah,
Yeah.
but and I don't want to sound like we're nitpicking because I
No, not at
enjoyed
all.
this movie so much.
It's an
But
adaptation. It's expected.
yeah,
These are things that have surprised me, not things that I think are bad.
disappointed me. No,
Yeah, not at all.
no, and I love the look of a crysknife that they did. Kind of like this tooth that they sharpened and then just slapped a metal handle over it.
It looks organic. It looks so right.
Yeah,
You know.
it looks much more like you would expect. Although I think it was the TV miniseries had that short, like curved blade.
Yeah, it was cool.
But
You know.
but that would have, you stop and think about it, you're gonna have to do a lot of carving to make a tooth
Yeah.
curved like that.
Yeah.
Whereas this just looked like, hey, we found a tooth and we sharpened it up, and here you go. Slap a handle on it. There you go. Here's your knife.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. It looks like it's already suited to be a knife, and they just exactly. Yeah. I mean, I thought there were a lot of things that were surprising. The exposition I thought was done so well. Like just handling the massive amount of information that needed to be conveyed to the audience was just done in a really, really slick and streamlined way. So you really didn't even know you were getting handed tons of information.
Yeah, like mentats and stuff. They didn't really.
They didn't explain it.
I don't think
They didn't
Yeah,
explain
they
mentats.
No,
You
no.
know? The portrayal
And,
sort of let you figure it out. Like that whole scene
Yeah.
of him calculating something for Leto.
Eyes rolling back.
Yeah, like, oh, you got it. He's like a thing that can do that. You don't really get that. You don't hear anything about the Butlerian Jihad or,
Nothing.
yeah. Which I really, really would like to talk to someone who has never heard of Dune, who has never seen Dune, who has never seen any of the previous adaptations or read the book. And I want to ask them after they've seen this film, why do you think there were no computers in the year 10191? Like, I would love to know, like, did you notice there were no computers in the sci-fi film? Like, even the ornithopters didn't have a computer. Did you see he was like, with the controls, it was like very, like, almost like manual, flying by feeling type of controls.
And the ornithopters looked like I would picture them.
Perfect dragonflies. They look so cool. It made me believe that could actually fly. Like it's an actual design that could work.
Yeah. I feel like we're just going to go off on tangent after tangent.
Let's do it. Keep it going. This is it. We don't need.
But
we're not structured. We don't need to give a book report on every scene of this film. These are impressions. These are our first impressions. And that's what we're going to be doing tonight, guys.
I did miss one line. Another thing that we missed that I would have loved in the training with Gurney.
Yep.
Moods for cattle or making love. He didn't deliver that line.
He didn't.
I would have liked to have seen it, but small quibble.
I feel like that's just Patrick Stewart just owns that line too much, and I really am glad he still owns that line because I don't know, it just wouldn't have I don't know, I don't think it would have played right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like it was that iconic line, and then they did switch it. As far as Paul saying, "I heard your feet, old man." And,
Yeah.
rather than giving it during the training, they gave it when the worm and Gurney was coming up behind him.
Now, do you remember when we saw the first look? The sneak peek, and I thought he might have been talking to the worm itself, but it made way more sense knowing that Gurney was coming after him in this one. Yeah, so it made way more sense this time.
And Kynes was killed by a sandworm, after being stabbed by a Harkonnen rather than being, essentially led out into the desert to die and hallucinating her father.
Yeah, you didn't see anything of Pardo Kynes, but
which is kind of surprising because it's a character, Brian and Kevin, fleshed out a lot more in their prequel trilogies, and with them being involved in the movie, I'm kind of surprised. But
there's probably no space. Probably just no space, to be honest with you. I think that the script for this movie kept it very tight. It kept it very tight on the Atreides family. I think that's by design. They really wanted to make sure that you saw the family, you saw House Atreides, and you witnessed the downfall of House Atreides. That's what this movie was about. The downfall of House Atreides. So you really did not veer too much from that. You saw a little bit of Gidi Prime.
Salusa Secundus.
You saw a little bit of Salusa Secundus. But that's about it. What a wild scene Salusa Secundus was.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me like the way those warriors were trained. What was the group in Game of Thrones that the Khaleesi, the slaves, what were they called?
Oh, wow, I only did a podcast on Game of Thrones.
Yeah, here I am calling you
the
out.
Dothraki.
No, not the Dothraki. The slaves.
Oh, the eunuchs.
Yeah.
They
But it kind of reminded me of
yeah,
them
them.
as far as like extreme training to make these crazy warriors.
Like they were bloodletting people upside down, like in an upside down cross, so they could get their blood and then put it on their the foreheads of the soldiers. Like that's wild. I'm like
Yeah.
I was thinking of Blood of the Sardaukar, like
Yeah.
one shot
I
graphic
need to,
novel, and I was like, oh man. So that's the Blood of the Sardaukar. That is brutal.
yeah.
Brutal.
That whole train
As,
and their
as
their
Gurney says
language,
it.
that throat.
Yeah, that whole
It,
yeah, that's like
that was awesome.
Mongolian throat singing. There's actually a metal band called The Who, H-U. Not like Who like Robert Daltrey, but yeah, Roger Daltrey. But The Who is they do this metal throat like Mongolian throat singing thing. Super
Really?
cool. Yeah, super cool. Go on YouTube, check them out. But yeah, no, I was like that's a really cool thing. And that's how they start the entire film. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Dreams are messages from the deep. And I was wondering if that was like some I was hoping that was like some message from like the future. Like I would have loved that to turn out to be like the God Emperor, like
Yeah.
looking back on time and like thinking of that, like dreams are messages, like, and he's looking back on the deep and looking back into his other memory and recalling the events of Dune.
If they
And
had put underneath that Plato the Second, God Emperor, you might have heard a grown man squeal.
I would have
Yeah.
died. I would have been dead right there. I probably would have just stood there and my body would have turned to stone and that would be it for me.
Oh.
Yeah. Like
We
yeah.
we haven't even talked about the experience. So I get there early. I made a day of it. I went over Bloomington, Illinois. It's about an hour. Had lunch with my great aunt. Went to Krispy Kreme because we don't have one of those in Champaign.
Them Krispy
Bought a
Kremes are
bunch
good.
of bought a bunch of flavored brats, and I went to the theater early. And I'm like, you know what? I don't even care. And I had a guy there take my picture in front of the sign, and you love. I had the Benny Jesuit Fertility Clinic T-shirt on.
I saw
Got
that. You posted on Twitter.
yeah, got
Yep.
I got some comments on that. Some people like, but then I get in the theater
Dude,
and
hold
everybody's
on. You looked as happy as a pig in shit.
I'm
In
telling
front
you
of that
what, man,
that picture.
I was just
You
like, I'm like, it's happening, it's finally here.
like you're a big dude, you got a big beard, you're like, I don't want to call you like intimidating looking, but you're a man's man. That's your look. And you looked like a 7-year-old boy, just like on Christmas Day. It was so
Like
funny. Like,
the
oh,
only
look at
thing
him.
I think, the only time I can think of recently was when I was out in Washington for work, and I was at the Dune Peninsula, and I was standing in front of the sculptures of the sandworms, the Widowmaker statue
You still had some
that they
cool
had.
there. You still had some cool in
Yeah,
those pictures. This picture, you looked like a just a
yeah.
like a 7-year-old
Oh,
boy on Christmas Day. You were like,
I was just like, oh, going, and I talked to a guy, and he was like, apparently he went to a Jesuit school, and he was
okay.
talking about how he's like, man, I read this book a year ago. And then he goes, I immediately started rereading it and taking notes because he goes, I went to Jesuit school, so that's what I do. He goes, so I have been waiting for this. And, of course, I told him about the Dune cast because why would you not?
Oh, of course.
But
The
I get
greatest
in
Dune
there,
podcast in the known universe.
obviously,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting there, and then like, of course, everybody started sitting beside me, and I'm like, well, this is what I was trying to avoid was people talking to me during this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And but the theater was packed. It's all noisy and the trailers, and everybody's like talking about this movie and that movie. And I'm like, how many goddamn trailers do we get here? Like, I'm done. Let's get to the movie. And the legendary icon pops up.
mm-hmm.
You could have heard a pin drop in that theater. That theater got
That
so
theater
quiet
was my
immediately.
theater was dead quiet. Seriously.
Oh,
Seriously.
yeah. I was just like, nobody, you hear these like the Marvel movies and people cheering and stuff. There was
Nothing.
nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. Everybody, you didn't see people getting up and going to the bathroom or anything like that. It was just like
No one.
that theater they were there for that movie.
Yep.
And it was
People were there
great,
for
and I
it.
loved it.
Yeah. I got
I was,
two dudes cosplayed as worms walking in. It was kind of funny. They had cardboard like costumes. Yeah. You saw it on IMAX, right?
nice.
You went on IMAX?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was unbelievable. It was such an experience. The IMAX audio was like nothing I've ever heard in a film. It was like it took you into the film in such a way that I've never heard sound design used in this way. Like Hans Zimmer, if he doesn't win an Academy Award for what he did with this film, then the I probably won't watch the Oscars ever again. Like,
Yeah.
yeah,
I love the female chanting.
yeah. It's like
They
everything.
did it in the trailer, and I don't think that it was in the actual movie, but in the trailer, the one where Zendaya's doing the voiceover at the beginning, that
Mm.
light, oh, so good.
Hey, remember that one like photo of the Fremen we got, like the promotional photo, and they're all like, caption this band photo, and they're all like like
Yeah.
they all like hang out like that. Every single one of the Fremen just sits cool like that. It's
Yeah.
awesome. They're all on the rocks, like sitting cool. It was hilarious.
Jason Momoa looks pretty BA in a still suit too, with
Jason
the mask
Momoa.
up in his eye.
Jason Momoa is gonna be just fine. They're gonna be just fine in this franchise, and I think he knows it. He is Duncan Idaho.
Yeah, it just sucked for me because I had something in my eye when he died, and like it was
Oh
kind of
yeah, a little
embarrassing.
bit. What a
Like, but
scene!
when he jumps back up, I was like, yes,
I
take a couple
know.
more.
Take a couple more out. Yeah, he
Pulls
was
the knife out, and
till his dying
man,
breath.
what a death scene.
What a great scene. Yeah, I'm like,
And yeah, when he gives him the sword salute as the door's shutting,
I
and
know.
like we know the book, but even if you don't know the book,
Yeah,
this
like
dude
so.
this dude's sacrificing himself.
I didn't know when they were going to kill Duncan. You know what I mean? Like, because didn't in the book he died in the palace? He didn't die in a.
No, he died. They met up with him on the run.
Oh, he did. Okay, that's right. Yeah, I'm telling you, the last time I read Dune, was when we recorded our show in 2016. It's been a couple of years.
I
So
picked it up from Audible. I had a credit, so I've been listening to it. I think I was right about in the audio book where the movie left off.
cool,
So it was just about
cool.
perfect for me. I've since finished it, obviously, but
Yeah. So
oh
yeah, when he died, like I was, I was like, okay, so see you in two movies.
yeah,
you know,
man, was that such a great death scene he had? Oh
Yeah, yeah. So I think that between Rebecca Ferguson and him, I think that their performances carry this movie. They are the life of this movie. I think they're the most human of all the Atreides performances. There's a comment on Twitter yesterday from someone who thought that the performances were a little robotic, a little reserved. You didn't really get a lot out of them. And I said I counterpointed to this because someone just a respectful opinion that this film wasn't their cup of tea. And I said, well, think about it this way. I think that they were a little bit reserved and a little bit robotic by design. First, because that's a little bit of what Denis' style is, for people to be a little more reserved. There's a lot of acting through eyes and physicality in Denis' movies. If you watch Arrival, you get a lot of that. If you watch Sicario, you get a ton of that. If you watch Blade Runner, you get Blade Runner 2049. You get
obviously you get that.
yeah, you get a ton of that. Because the robots are more human than the humans in Blade Runner. In any event, what I think we have here is a society where there are no robots. Humans in many places have replaced robots, and the rigid social hierarchy that you get in the Dune universe via the houses, via the Bene Gesserit, via the Guild, via who am I forgetting here? I think that's the Imperium. I think that
No real talk of Chom.
no Chom. I think Chom's kind of an added layer of complexity that I don't think this adaptation needed.
No.
I bet in part 2 they'll discuss it a little bit. Like the way they explain the economics of the universe was very well done. You could understand it very well.
Yeah, I thought they talked a lot about the Fremen. Paul's got the video movies that he's watching on
Yeah.
Caladan.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was a really good way to introduce a lot of that information.
Right out of the book, right out of Lynch too. Lynch did that too.
And I saw somebody talking about the sand dance. They said the sand walking dances. That's this movie's weirding module. And I was like,
Not really.
I really I thought it was a nice touch. Actually, I kind of enjoyed it. Because they always just say walk without rhythm, and you're like, what does that mean?
Yeah, what does
Like,
it
how do
mean? It doesn't mean
And
anything. I think it's I think
yeah,
it's better than I think it was portrayed better than Lynch, because Lynch was like just a weird shuffle, but it had a rhythm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they explain, like, hey, this is supposed to be mimicking the sounds of the desert and sand moving in the wind. And
I thought it was
it's like,
very
okay.
good. I thought it was very good.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing that replaces the weirding module. It's
Thank God.
I hate the weirding module, and I really appreciate that they even dropped a woman of the weirding way. Like they actually got the right term for Rebecca. That was huge. That was huge. Like don't be afraid of that word, because I love that phrase, the weirding way. It's so cool. but yeah, because Lynch is
Javier Bardem, by the way. I'm sorry.
Stilgar.
I'm just thinking about Jessica, overtaking Stilgar at the end of the movie. That's how I got here. That's where this tangent came from. But man, was he so good.
Yeah.
He just has a presence. Like when he first was introduced and just
Oh, he
kind
does.
of yeah, just like walked right up to the Duke, stares him right in the face.
You know who you're dealing
Everybody
with
come.
there. Like this
Yeah.
guy.
Like the guards are just coming at him and he's just like, I
He's not
couldn't care
fucking
less
around.
about you.
Not
Yeah.
one little bit. This guy is
Yeah.
just
Couldn't care less about you guys.
yeah, like yeah. And he just the way he carries himself, like he didn't even look at the guards. It's like, go ahead.
If
Like
I wanted to, I could kill you.
he would take them all out. 100%,
Yeah. Just
And
walks up and spits on the table.
funniest part of the movie. Funniest part of the movie. And like
Mm.
Momoa, as Duncan just explaining the entire thing was perfect, just pitch perfect the way they did that, and Oscar
Yeah,
Isaac was like right on it.
like we respect in the spirit that it was offered. Gurney's just kind of like, what?
What? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Gurney was not enjoying spitting on the table, but he's like,
Yeah,
fine, everybody else is doing it. Peer pressure. Gurney's going to spit on the table.
yeah. I mean, we know we're gonna see Gurney in part two. What happened to Thufir?
I'm assuming if they follow the books, he's going to be working with the Harkonnens
Yeah, I mean,
because Piter's dead.
he just disappeared. He just disappeared. We didn't see him at all. He
Yeah,
just
kind of disappears in the book though. They
yeah,
capture him and
but they make mention that he's captured,
yeah,
don't
there's
they?
a lot of stuff that isn't. Yeah, but there's just not a lot of stuff that's
Yeah,
it's happening off screen and they're not mentioning it.
yeah, yeah,
And for as much as because this wasn't a split down the middle of the book. This is for the original book kind of being three parts. This is essentially the first two parts. So this
yes,
third part, they've got a lot of room to work with.
they do. But then again, I feel like that third part is a bit rushed. The book isn't rushed, but I mean, they gloss over large periods of time in the third part. Yeah. Don't take
And
it the wrong way. The book is not rushed. The book is perfect the way it is.
I think what we're gonna get is more of the Bene Gesserit, the Water of Life, how they become a Reverend Mother,
Yeah.
and why they were breeding for Kwisatz Haderach. I think we're
Yeah.
going to get a more full explanation of that because we haven't gotten that yet.
Well,
in the movie,
you don't
really.
know much of the universe. You watch this first part, you don't know much of the universe yet. You don't really know why the Harkonnens and are angry at the Atreides, other than they want their money. But it's a little more than that. You don't know much about the Harkonnens at all. You saw Beast like in a few scenes. You don't really see him squeezing Arrakis at all. You have years of that. You don't see anything of the Imperium. We haven't seen the Emperor yet. We've heard about him. We've heard about him being a petty and vindictive guy, cunning, and that's about it. And yeah, like you don't really see much of the Spacing Guild. So there's a lot more factions to introduce. And if they're taking big swings, they should also introduce the Bene Telex.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Take some big swings and like just throw them in. Like let's just mention, just talk about them.
Yeah, just make a mention of their genetic
Yeah.
methods or something,
Talk
so
about,
that
yeah.
when we do get Dune Part 3 and it's Messiah and Hate shows up and Jason Momoa shows up with his silver Tleilaxu eyes, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, let's hear about them, because who are we missing? We're missing Bene Telex and we're missing Ix right now.
Yeah, and I could almost see where Ix, as much as they're prominent in the books, like I don't know that you have to introduce them in this cinematic universe.
They're gonna come into play later on when because the Ixian navigational devices replace the they replace the need for the Spacing Guild, and they're the downfall of the Spacing Guild and the Navigators. So that's one thing. I mean, do you need that to tell the story? Maybe not. If they're gonna get into anything in the prequel Dune House Atreides, yeah, they might need that too, though. Because that's where Leto sort of what would you call that? Just goes on a vacation, hangs out with some friends.
Yeah.
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 I don't know.
It goes sideways in a hurry.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know that they'll do an on-screen adaptation of those because they're doing them in a comic book form. So
True.
uh,
Yeah.
kind of like Star Wars, like there's some things that are done in the comic books, but it's one thing Marvel's done, Star Wars has done. Can we get more like TV shows, cartoons, stuff like that to expand this universe?
I mean,
Like,
yeah.
does this franchise have the draw to the common person? Like obviously we love it because we're huge fans, but does it have the wide audience appeal to where they can do this? I mean, I guess they're going to test the water with the Sisterhood of Dune, and
Yeah. My theater was packed, absolutely
yeah,
packed.
we were pretty like for a Thursday 6 o'clock show. It was I wouldn't say it was completely packed, but I would guess 2/3.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they didn't.
And and I left, and then I didn't. I almost like I wanted to stop and talk to people. I was by myself because told my wife, "Sorry about your
Yeah.
luck. I'm not answering questions."
Yeah.
This first time I watched this movie,
I mean,
and but
yeah.
when I left, there was people in all these groups, and as I'm walking by, I can hear them talking about this and talking about this part and that part, and people that have read the books, and they were talking about differences in the book and the movies, and other people that hadn't seen or hadn't read the books and what they were talking about, and it went. I think it was received pretty well.
Yeah. This film, I think was made for people who have read the book. I think that if you know the book, if you know the books, you are going to appreciate this movie on a much more profound level than you ever would have without knowing it at all. Like you don't really know Duncan's, Sword Master of Ginaz. You don't really know, you don't know Mentat. You don't know Souk Doctors. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like there's so much more. You don't know Chom. You really don't know what's up with the Bene Gesserit and why they are important. They're just sort of there, and powerful.
other than that, they look awesome.
They looked awesome and imposing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the veils that they would wear.
the Gom Jabbar scene. The
Yeah,
Gom
yeah.
Jabbar scene. That's something. All right. I was not sold on Chalamet's performance up until that scene. I was like, you know what? He is a little robotic. I'm not really getting a lot of emotion from him. I'm not really getting a lot from him. He's very reserved, and I don't. I'm gonna wait and see. I'm not saying he's doing a bad job here. His performance is reserved, and I'm not getting a lot out of him. And then he looks up at her. He looks up and he faces Gaius Helen Mahayim, and the look in his eyes, the rage and the
Yeah.
strength that he
How
looks
dare
up.
you use voice on me?
Like not after, no, not that was like a little petulance. That was like whatever, but like he's screaming, he's crying, and then all of a sudden he masters his pain, and he looks up at her, and the look in his eyes is just like, oh, that's the Kwisatz Haderach. That is the Emperor of the Known Universe. That is Muad'Dib. That's it right there. That is the Atreides Empire. Like, that is the intensity that we're going to see from this character. And you needed to have a bit of the innocence at the beginning, I think. I think you needed that innocence and that reservedness that he played before you see that look in his eyes. And I'm like, damn.
You talk about performances. I know you're still a little on the fence about it, but I love Zendaya's performance. I thought she was great in the intro. We see Chaney as a warrior, but when he runs up the hill, when they first run into Fremen and we get the line, you're like, you took the most difficult way up, and I wouldn't have let you shoot him. And she's giving him the Chris knife and telling him the history of it. And it'll be an honor for you to die with this in your hand. Jameis is a good fighter. He won't make you suffer. Just like she is a hardened Fremen warrior, and I love it.
I don't know, man. I got to tell you,
I know. We don't see
Zendaya to me, is unproven as an actor. Still unproven. There's nothing that she did in this movie that she didn't do as Mary Jane Watson in the Spider-Man films. Just that sort of callous, like monotone, sort of like sarcasm. Like, like I guess it was played sincere here, but I don't know. I just didn't get a lot out of her, and I think the biggest surprising thing in this movie is, and it really shouldn't be surprising because she's not in the first half of the film, and I think we said this years ago when we were talking about this film.
Yeah, somebody called out a tweet. I got a response to a tweet, and I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, I vaguely recall that. It was from like 2019, where apparently I called where the movie was going to end. Go me.
Oh, dude, we called that. We were like, yeah, Jameis. Yeah, we called that. We said it would be either two places. I think you called fighting Jameis, and I said it would be taking the water of life. That I believe that's where we ended up, and we said either of those would have been perfect places to end, and that's where it ended. Yeah.
Yeah. So
this is the Dune cast. This is the Dune cast. We get it. But yeah, I think that she just, obviously the way they market it, you would think that she would be in the whole movie, but obviously, Chaney is not in the first half of Dune. She's just not a character. So I think they wove up pictures of her. It's great that she had some screen time to sort of look forebodingly, but I
I'll
think
be
that
interested to see, like I said, I love that they're making her, same with Jessica, like we were talking earlier, they make these characters a little more prominent. They're fleshing them out more, giving them more
yeah.
backstory, more prominence, I guess is a word.
Well, she'll
And
certainly
I'm
do more
curious.
than Sean Young did, which is basically just like a side piece for Paul in Lynch's
Yeah,
film. She'll certainly be a character of her own, but she just didn't have a lot to do in this film. And
no.
I think the
I hope
mark.
we get the scene from the book where like somebody was going to attack Paul and Janie kills him. She's just like, listen, if they can't take me, then they have no business coming after you.
True. That would be a badass scene.
That would be pretty. I would love that.
Yeah, yeah. They really paid a lot of attention to the prophecy of the Lisan al Gaib, which I thought
Yeah.
was very interesting for the story to focus on that as much as they did. But I liked it because I think in following that storyline, you're able to explain the Missionara Protectiva better. There's actually a line that Paul says when I believe it's to Jessica. What does he say? They believe what they're told to believe, I believe is the line. I was like, that is just such a beautiful atheist credo in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And it's just a beautiful sentiment on religion. And I'm like, yeah, that's you got it.
Accurate.
It's accurate, and it's all you need to explain about what the Missionary Protectiva does and why the path is laid before them, and it's to literally protect the Kwisatz Haderach. So yeah, wild stuff.
Oh, so many things in this movie, and I'm just jumping around. We talked about when Liette was gender swapped,
Yeah,
and after seeing the whole movie, did not bother me. Like,
did not care.
did not change the character at all. I loved the actress in the role. I thought she was good in the role.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, zero problem with it.
No, I just
Sharon Brewster, is that her name?
Sharon Duncan Brewster. Yeah,
I thought she was great in the role. I thought Jameis was the actor that played Jameis was good.
Oh, he was great.
Like because in the
those
fight,
wild screams, like that.
Well, Paul gets the knife to his throat a couple times, and he's realizing, oh shit, I'm outmatched. Like, he went in there completely confident, and then after a couple exchanges, Paul holds the knife up, and then like there's the "Do you yield?" and he's like screaming because he realizes, oh, I'm gonna die here.
Yeah,
and
he knows it, and he's just like a wild beast. You know what I mean?
Like, just quit embarrassing me. Do it.
Yeah, it's almost like a callback to the Jam Jabbar scene. A wild beast would gnaw off his own hand. He at that point he is just in rage and he's a wild beast at that point.
Yeah,
and Paul,
he thinks Paul's just playing with him.
Yeah, the perception. It is. I could certainly see how the Fremen would think that Paul is just playing with him.
And Stilgar even says something in Jessica's.
Yeah.
Paul have that line from the books, like he's never killed anybody this way before.
Yeah. It's in Dune's own weird way, he was still sort of a sweet young boy, who's never killed. But I mean, Rebecca knows what's up, and Stilgar knows what's up.
A tooth into a guy's back before. You know?
Like the poor kid. Oh, he hasn't killed.
But I mean, like he kills him and immediately like falls over him. Just like.
Yeah, but you
didn't want to do it.
He will know your ways as if he's born to them. That's what a Fremen would do, right? We didn't get the "I'm a friend to Jameis" part, but I feel like we'll get it.
I think that might be the one they open up with. I don't know.
I think so. I think that's how it'll begin. But he laid him to die as if he were a friend to Jameis, and I thought that was like a big deal.
Yeah. We didn't give gifts water to the dead.
Yeah, but
at that point he's already. I think wasn't he already called? No, he wasn't called.
What's that?
Was he Usul yet? No, he wasn't.
Nope.
Usul yet.
Usul has not been mentioned yet.
Okay. In the book, though, I can't remember.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. No.
It comes like right after that. He's just been accepted into the Fremen. Really appreciate the Fremen are of all races, by the way.
Yeah.
I was all races. I pretty much saw all races accounted for. I believe in the ranks of the Fremen. I mean, I don't know all races on Earth, but I mean, many shades and many skin colors in the Fremen, and I
More
really
so than the '84 version for sure.
more so than the A4 version, more so than any other group represented in the film. So I really appreciate that, because the Fremen are not a race; they're a people, they're a culture. They, that's sort of what it is. And Fremen are about to explode into the galaxy, and they're all. It's not a racial thing; it's a culture thing, and they'll, many more people are about to become Fremen in the galaxy.
Yeah, it's so good. They talk
Yeah.
about they thought there was 50,000, and they're like, no, there's this many CHs and this many people. And
Siege.
Cheech,
That's a different pronunciation, huh?
yeah, and
Yeah.
minor things, but it's always
It's
like
cool.
it always jumps out at me. The Lido Leto Leto one always jumps out at me, of course, because of my dog. But
Mm. Hey, what'd you think of Gurney? Gurney dropping all the lyrics.
yeah, I
Great
mean, I would have
job.
loved a ballast. I would have loved a ballast, but we didn't get one, so
Yeah.
not the end of the world. But yeah, he
He's
dropping some lyrics here and there and bagpipes, which was kind of weird. I'm not gonna lie.
the bagpipe part was a little interesting, right?
I
Especially
was like,
since
that's an
the Atreides are Greek, but all
odd
these things
choice.
they, the Atreides also had bonsai on Caladan. So I mean, it's not like these are you know, all of these cultures have been intermingled over the thousands of years since then.
Yeah, we we got a lot more relationships with the different characters. Like
Yeah.
I feel like we got Duncan and Paul a much more, personable relationship, like that big brother type relationship that I
Yes.
feel like Duncan has with him. And then the whole I'm sorry, I know it's a little cheesy, but I love the scene with Leto and Paul when they're walking. He's like, "What if I'm not the future?" And he's
Oh,
just
I
like, "You're
loved
everything
it.
I."
I loved
It
it.
was
Yeah.
so good. It was so good. He was like, "You're my son, and I'm always going to love you no matter what happens."
Yeah.
And it's just not like obviously father and son they have the relationship, and in the book, it's just a little bit more. And the same with Duncan and Paul.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
the
And
constant, my boy.
my boy, yeah, I love that, and that's just great. It's great stuff. I mean, it's a great portrayal of Duncan, better than I've ever seen in any adaptation.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean Lynch's Duncan is like
brother.
useless. It's like a waste.
Yeah, and he does in the block shield, the shields we haven't talked about, but the shields.
Oh, the
Oh,
shields were so cool.
yeah, I've
Yeah.
started watching it with my wife because she's like, okay, now that you've seen it, we can watch it. And joking, we've been watching the movie for a little over an hour now. I think we're 35 minutes in
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of pausing, and I had to explain the shields. I had to explain the shields to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like what is that? What is that thing on their wrist, and why does it light up? And so explaining that, but much more minimal appearance, obviously, than in '84. That weird block.
Yeah, the height of computer, the best computer animation they could do at the time. But
Yeah, it made Duncan's death scene really weird because you couldn't hardly see him.
yeah, you couldn't. You didn't really know what was going on there. But yeah, I thought the use of blue and red to see like what was going on with the shield was really cool.
Yeah, like blocked, red went through.
Yep. Paul's
And
prescient
Duncan,
vision. Paul's prescient
oh yeah,
visions done so well. Just these flashes, right? Just these flashes of pictures of like what he's thinking, what he's seeing. Nothing really not always perfect pictures too. Not always perfect recollections of the future.
and we were talking about it when we watched the trailer. There was that scene of him in the armor and he's fighting, and then he lowers the mask,
Yeah.
and it was like, when is this going to take place? Because that seems like it would be much later in the book, and so
Uh-huh.
it is the vision. I think we talked about it and thought it was probably a vision,
Yep.
but they almost did like a little CGI to kind of give it that appearance that this isn't real, that this is so that this is a vision.
A little bit. It was just a massive CGI set piece, right?
Mm.
I just thought it was done so well, and you really can't see it's a worm in the background, but you know it's a worm in the background too, like diving and
Yeah,
attacking. I thought that was so cool.
yeah,
That was a great scene. I love that whole scene in the buried tent. It was really cool to see
you're
him.
like, what
Yeah.
have you done to me?
What have you done to me? Like that again. That was the second point where I realized, oh yeah, Chalamet is the real deal. Like he does not express like a lust for power. He does not express any greed or any like enthusiasm about his future. He was disgusted about what's about to happen in his name and what he will do himself. And I was like, this is right. This is Dune. And this is why all of those all of the discussions about him being some sort of savior are just moot here. It is a criticism of that. It is a criticism of religion, and it's a criticism of those sorts of lines of thinking, because this is a person who rejects it. It rejects that sort of those sort of religious wars and those people wanting that. He does not want to be a leader.
No, he does not. And
Someone's
unfortunately for you,
Hey,
and
Rod,
of course he'll, yeah.
I just got something. Someone was joining our meeting.
Oh, no, try now.
Weird.
I accidentally clicked on the link on my phone.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna,
Good. All right, cool. All right, back into it. What are you gonna say?
now I have to remember. Hang on. It's like the whole he doesn't want the golden path, and he's
Yeah.
like, he doesn't want all this, and we're starting to get a little bit of a preview of that. Like all the stuff that Paul isn't the hero. What we constantly tell people.
Yeah.
I had somebody that watched it and had made mention of. It just feels like. I was like, well, wait until you get to part 3, movie 3, when you find out Paul isn't the hero.
No.
He's not the savior.
Not at all. There is nothing, nothing about Paul is a savior at all. And yeah, I mean, looking at the Fremen with a critical eye too. I mean, it's hard to sort of see what they see and see through their eyes, and it's almost tragic. The way they're portrayed in their religious views of being a prophet. So there's a bit of tragedy there, but you kind of have like Stilgar being a little bit of like the Morpheus role at the same time, like believing in the prophecy and believing in him. But it's just a weird thing where typically in these sort of stories, the reader or the viewer also is on the side of wanting to believe in the hero. But in this case, we know that they're not the hero. We know that they're not the one in the way that they think. Yeah.
Finding a true hero in Dune is difficult to do.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. Maybe the world's ready for that. I think the world is.
I hope so.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am. Keep making movies, please.
Please. Yeah. I really do think that after this weekend's performance and after the turnout and the buzz this movie is getting, and just the great job that has been done, I think that there is plenty of runway and plenty of hope for many future adaptations. I think that the future is bright for Dune, and there's a lot that's going to be done here.
I think you're right. I mean, we talked briefly about the numbers, but you think like they actually, and God, it pissed me off when I saw that they did it, but they released Dune a day early on HBO Max even.
Yeah,
so
they did.
And it still did really well at the theater. There were still a lot of people, and I could hear people talking, like, oh, I could have watched this yesterday, but I chose to watch it on the IMAX. Like I wanted to watch this on the IMAX.
Well, put it this way: if you're not sure about this movie and you've never seen it before, you don't really know anything about Dune, where are you going to go see it? You're probably going to check it out on TV. You're probably going to check it on HBO Max because there's very little risk for you personally. You're not wasting a ton of time. You're not wasting a ton of money. You're not wasting anything. You just pop it on. You check out your new movie. It's not the best way to do it. We know that. But at least the option's there. And now you're in. Now you bought into Dune. You loved it. You had a great time. And now they'll be coming back. So I think it's a brilliant strategy. I said it from the beginning. It was a brilliant strategy, and I think it's playing out.
I just wonder if they're waiting, because like there was that thing, Warner Brothers, they didn't say they've greenlit Dune 2, but
it's all about.
They said they'd green.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everybody
they didn't say it, but they said it.
Everybody has been sort of talking about that. I think it's already in pre-production, if you ask me. The way they're talking about it, Denis would not be talking about it, and Warner executives and Legendary executives would not be saying the things they're saying if it was not greenlit.
I mean, we've been watching the press build up to this as it's been releasing around the world, and the excitement and how much press they've been giving this movie. So I really, I think it's just, I wonder if they're waiting until, Sunday? I wonder if they're waiting until the numbers get released and everything, and then doing like a little, and also part 2 is officially greenlit.
Yeah, they might. They might. I would not expect it to come after too long. I think it'll be out pretty soon. I do. So... and
hopefully we don't have another global pandemic which forces him back another year.
Oh God, no, I don't think so.
Oh, that was brutal.
Yeah.
And then it got pushed back another month.
The good news is
I was at work and I was like looking at my calendar. I'm like, why do I have this weekend? Oh yeah, I remember why I took that weekend off. Boo.
Most of the people in this film don't need to come back. That's sort of the good thing.
No, I mean, Oscar doesn't need to come back. Obviously, Jason Momoa.
Yep.
But we'll get some more people. Beast, I don't know.
Yeah,
You could,
Raban has to come back. I thought Batista did a great job in his limited role.
yeah.
You saw the anger, you saw the intensity. He was perfect there. Yeah.
Skarsgård. I thought Skarsgård was a very intimidating Baron. The
Oh
look of him,
God,
and I love the dispenser. Like
built right into his back.
basically, yeah,
Yeah.
and it lights up and he floats up in that big robe underneath him.
Hey,
Oof.
how about the hunter killer scene?
Yeah,
Great. It
and
looked like a little mosquito. That was pretty cool.
and then the little hologram. He's standing in the hologram and it's floating right in front of his eye.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Baron Harkonnen. So it was a practical thing, but they definitely enhanced the practical costume with CG, 100%. Right?
Yeah.
You could see like in his face, it was sort of smooth, like ripples of fat were smoothed over with it.
Yeah.
So I guess I was kind of correct that it would definitely be a CG Baron, in some way. I thought it was going to be all motion capture, but clearly not. But there was some CG definitely applied to the Baron.
Yeah, but Skarsgård has played the villain before, and he does it well. Like he's a great actor.
He did a great job.
The voice just like he had the prosthetics around his face, but his eyes and demeanor, and we didn't get the petter ass Baron, but we got the gluttonous. There's that scene where he's just eating away,
gorging in front of Leto.
And then he was the one that killed Yui instead of Piter. And in the books, Piter's the one that stabs him. In this one,
yeah,
the parent hacks his head off. I was like, oh my.
Man, Piter, I think, like, of all the wasted talent, I feel like David Dastmalchian didn't get to do anything, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had one weird, cool eye thing. Like, his eyes went in different directions for a second. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Because he was supposed to be the Twisted Mentat. I saw something. And I haven't been able to watch it since I read that because I didn't notice it. But you said it. So I was like, now I have to go back and...
Hey, here's one scene. What was that weird black spider human thing from...
I don't know.
That was weird.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's like it doesn't understand. And Gaius uses the voice on it.
Yeah,
it understands. Fine.
That was weird. She was like, "The thing must leave." I was like, "That thing was messed."
Yeah, that thing must
up.
leave. Like, get that thing out of here.
It looked like it looked like it could have been like a human centipede type thing, but like done better. Like, I guess it's trying to tell you like how twisted and messed up the Harkonnens are.
Oh yeah.
Like,
again, the book and Fade pisses off the Baron. The Baron makes him kill all the pleasure girls. Like, I'll kill all the girls in the pleasure house. Like they are some evil people.
Yeah, I think like you don't really get a ton of that in this film, but yeah, you really, just little touches like that. Like, oh, these are some messed up people. Very messed up.
The Raban just going along and the prisoners just executing them all as they're kneeled down.
Yeah. Like that's evil, but like quarter. Not twisted, not like evil.
Yeah, but no quarter given. Like, nope.
Completely.
We're not taking any prisoners.
Yeah. But yeah, Piter didn't get a lot. There wasn't a lot for him to do.
No, he died. Poor Piter.
Yep. The tooth scene was great though. Here I am, here I remain.
They put that line there, rather than the toast at the banquet scene.
Yeah. Baron Harkonnen never came to Arrakis, right? That was a change. Yeah. I think it worked well though. It worked well for the film. Makes sense. I
like how they explain, like, listen, they are making so much money off this that, there's no way. They tried to put, like, this is how much they've been skimming off the top.
Yes. Yeah.
So, like, if any of you think that they just took off and left us in charge, you're out of your mind.
Yeah, you're out of your mind. It's yeah. Like, you don't get it, do you? Like, that was, big deal.
And then they said they hit like all the village down and kill.
Hold on, you cut out there. You cut out where it said they hit all the villages.
They hit all the populated areas. All the villages. And so the Harkonnens, when they attacked, like they came down and they're like, oh, we're not just going to assassinate the Duke and take out the Atreides soldiers. Like, we're going to wipe out a good chunk of the population too. They're classic. The squeeze. We're squeezing the population.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just theirs to just dominate completely. Yeah. Messed up.
Because they indiscriminately came down and just started blowing everything up in buildings.
Yeah. So I want to think about Lynch's film. I want to do a little bit of comparison here. Because a lot of phrases that are so famous from Lynch's film and become synonymous with Dune were not in this film, and I think it was a good thing.
Yeah, the sleeper must awaken.
Yeah, I'm thinking we got to change our the beginning of our show. Our intro to our show might have to change now. Pull some new Dune stuff. New Dune quotes. But yeah, there's that. The sleeper must awaken. The spice must flow.
Yeah.
Gone. I never liked that, so I'm sort of glad for that to be gone.
Yeah. The sleeper must awaken, I don't know, was never that whole scene was kind of weird to me.
Yeah, I bet.
Father!
The sleeper has awakened. Yeah, that's kind of
With that weird CGI worm.
Yeah, they the thing about Lynch's film is it was completely, that's Paul becoming a savior, not Paul and becoming a tyrant. No.
Yeah, there was no ever intention of moving on.
No, not at all. And that's a total misreading and misunderstanding of what Dune is. There's a lot of stuff like that just got left with Lynch, and I think rightfully so. I'm really glad that he veered far away from that. I just think the tone is so much different too. Lynch's film compared to this one it feels overacted. It feels like almost like a like an off-Broadway, like overacted sort of theater production. You know what I mean? Like it just seems like a little too just
I'd almost say there was parts where it's like I read this book one time and these are the things that I want to.
Yeah.
Whereas Denise was more of a passion, lifetime love of the story.
Yeah, there's just more nuance in Denis' film, and it really is more accurate.
There's stuff that like first time reader like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm gonna force this into this movie, and it didn't always.
I just think there's like Lynch's film is just big monologues, just big and boisterous and like a little campy. You know what I mean? Compared to this, it's just very campy and just over. Baron Harkonnen in that movie is just overacted. Like, everyone's just overacting, like big portrayals of everything. Yeah,
and then Lynch throwing in classic weird milking cats and rats. I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, and pugs.
and heart plugs.
And heart plugs and just weird stuff like that. So
now listen, like I appreciate that movie for what it is.
We'll do a commentary on it one of these days. We're gonna do it.
But I'm so happy that we've got this adaptation now.
Yeah, I'm actually happy we haven't looked at Lynch's film yet. I wanted to wait till after we've seen this one to go back and watch Lynch's. I said it years ago. I said that Lynch's film is kind of gonna be left in the dustbin of history once this comes out. And I feel like I'm going to be right about that. I feel like it will remain in the hearts of older Dune fans forever, but it will never be on the level of what this is.
Yeah, I think there's, people, it introduced a lot of people to Dune.
Introduced me to Dune, 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy thing, it wasn't me. It was like my chef friend.
Yeah. That crazy
Thanks, Dan.
That crazy intro to the beginning of that of the longest edition of the Lynch film that goes on for like 20 minutes, like with like pictures, the paintings.
Yeah,
that's the one that introduced me, and I'm like, this is fascinating. So there was a whole like AI robot war, like Terminators, and we're just gonna pass over that, and then we're gonna go 10,000 years in the future from after they overthrew that. So that's a whole thing, and now we're this far into the future of human history, like. That's what really like blew me away. I'm like, okay, so this is what humanity's done since then. Like wild. Like that whole concept bought me in, and the way they explained it in Lynch's film made me, really sold me on the entire premise of what this universe is. And from there I was hooked.
Yeah. It is crazy like that I came to it so late in life. There's so many more times than growing up with this.
You cut out again. It is crazy. I came to it so late in life, you said.
Okay. Yeah, it is crazy that I came to it so late in life, like my mid 20s, I think, like I get a little jealous. People that grew up with it, read it young. But then I guess at the same time, I think I took more out of it as an adult than I would have if I'd read it as a child.
100%. I think
I shouldn't
so
say
too.
Child, but as a young adult, like in my teens, I probably wouldn't have gotten near as much out of it as I got as an adult.
Yeah, I read it at 28 for the first time, and I think it was the right time for me. It was the perfect time in my life to read it because I already plainly come of age, but I feel like I was really ready to really become like a man on my own at that point. And that's, I think, the best time to read Dune is when you've really sort of embraced your adult persona, and you've really sort of taken your steps into being your adult, character of who you are. Like really when you're there, I think that's when you start reading Dune.
Yeah.
I don't know, because
When
it's not a
you're a
book.
teenager, you take sandworms out of it. You're like, ooh, there's sandworms.
Yeah, because it's not a book to guide you in how to become a good person. It's not a lessons or morals type of person. It's a book that takes a critical look at the world. And if you don't know much about the world, you're not going to get much out of that critique.
If you're not aware of socioeconomic issues in that time and still going on today.
Yeah, yeah, exactly that too. Hey, I feel like they added Gurney's Inkvine scar post production because I feel like I was looking for it in all of the trailers, and I didn't see it at all. And there it was, plain as day in the film.
Have you gone? Have you gone back to look and see if it was in the trailer?
No, I haven't.
Well, I watched the trailer and you can watch the whole movie now.
Yeah. I just haven't gone back. But I remember looking for it in the trailers and be like, it's not there. Where is it? Maybe they're not doing that, but I don't know. It's definitely there in the film.
Yeah, I think I'm going to watch the movie, a little bit more of the movie again tonight. My wife's still awake and answer more questions because, hey guys, that's what you need to do. By the way, those of you that are fans that have people that are interested in this, answer their questions. Like, get people interested in this. More interest, and maybe we can get that God Emperor live action.
Yeah. Well,
but trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to cover like immediately.
Yeah. First thoughts, right? Is there anything else you really thinking about right now?
Oh, there was some stuff we talked about, like the scene of the spice harvester, the sand shaking and sinking into the sand as the sandworm comes up.
Oh, that was awesome. Yeah, we saw that in the first look, and that was great stuff. It really was. It's a slow paced movie. I remember looking down at my clock, and I was like, only an hour has passed. I feel like we're so deep into this movie, and it was only an hour. And I do think it is a slow paced movie by intention. They know the pace they're going at. They know it's not a movie to, it's not a formulaic movie. It's not a movie based on the Hollywood formula. And if you need that to judge a movie good, I think that says more about the viewer than it does about the film. You know what I mean?
They obviously threw like a little action in, a little more action than what the book probably has, but
yeah,
absolutely right.
Yeah.
It was a slow burn.
Yeah, if you need an action scene every 5 minutes, and like a little bit of MCU witty banter to keep you interested, I don't know if that says something about the movie. I don't think it does. I think it says more about the audience. Because movies don't have to play by that formula. Movies didn't always play by that formula, and I think that if that's the reaction you're having, maybe take a step back and like think about, why do you feel bored? What are you looking for that you're not getting? And maybe you shouldn't be looking for that. Maybe you should be looking for what's on screen.
A story driven. Don't get me wrong. I do love the Marvel movies and they're good at what they do.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they do too.
But if you're just wanting a popcorn movie, sit down, this isn't the movie. But if you want to be immersed in a world, this is your show.
It's immersive. It's immersive and it's epic and it's grand scale. And it's not told in, the Hollywood, hit factory way. This is a long planned design. It's just the beginning. As Chaney says, it's just the beginning. And that's it.
Yeah, desert power is a Fremen's like riding a sandworm.
You know something?
Through the day.
I never sort of got the desert power reference. I never really felt it until I saw it here. When the way Oscar Isaac explained, like, when on Caladan we ruled by sea and air, and by, on Arrakis we need desert power. I'm like, oh, I get it. Like he's going to control the planet using his interpretation of what desert power is. And that's, I always knew, it's the Fremen. Desert power is the Fremen. But like, why call it that? Why use it that way? And it just sort of made sense to me in a better way now. I think Oscar Isaac did a great job in that scene of, yeah. I don't know. It was
Oscar
very
Isaac's
well done.
A little something for the ladies in his death scene.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a little bit of skin. I think the most skin in the entire movie, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Well, if we get up to the Automatres, I think we'll be.
We'll take a left turn in that.
Yeah, the turn will be tabled at that point.
Yeah, I remember trying to explain the series to somebody that had just finished God Emperor and talking to her about the Honored Matres, and I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Yeah, keep going."
And you know something?
But Miles Teg is awesome.
That's probably why those will never be adapted.
Yeah.
They're just too weird. You can't, you know.
But it would be so awesome to have, especially to get to Chapter House and have a young Miles Teg, like a 10-year-old riding around on a Reverend Mother's shoulders in leading battle.
That would be wild. That would be wild.
Oh,
Yeah, absolutely
like,
wild.
Like, oh, there's so many good visuals they could do.
Yeah. So good. Yeah, Miles Teg being awakened by a Reverend Mother through sexual imprinting, though. No, don't want to watch that on screen.
That'd be a little awkward.
Yeah. Sexual bonding and sexual imprinting. Not really stuff in Hollywood you're going to really go for. Not going to happen.
No,
No.
definitely not.
But if we get to God Emperor, I think we'll be doing pretty damn good.
I would be so happy if we get to God Emperor.
Yeah.
I would, speaking of Leto, though, there was, I had an interesting at the dog park months ago. A girl had come out and her friend had come out and then talking about my dogs. And she was like, wait, are those named after Dune? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, well, I don't know Ganimo, but I know Leto because I just finished Dune, the first book.
Yeah.
And she came out again. It'd been a couple months and now she's read all 6. And we were talking how much we would love to have more. So Brian, Kevin, if you guys are listening, I'd love to have like a Ganima focused storyline.
That'd be cool. There's a lot of her life we don't know about.
Yeah, just saying. Just throwing that out there if you guys are listening. So apparently I ordered 2 copies of the hardback graphic novel of Dune. So rather than return them, I thought, let's do a giveaway.
All right.
To the listener.
Giveaway time. All right. So what do you have to do to get the cover of this, the hardcover Dune graphic novel? What you have to do, get on Twitter and write @DuneCast is my favorite Dune podcast.
Oh, I think they should have to quote the tweet that we're for this episode too.
Oh, I think that might be a good idea too. Oh yeah. Let's see that. If you can retweet this one as well as write @DuneCast is my favorite Dune podcast, you'll be in the running, and we'll pick them. We'll pick them soon. Look on Twitter.
Yeah, we'll give you the date that you got to do that by, and then we'll do a random pick.
How about 2 weeks? 2 weeks from when this publishes.
Okay. Like it.
So the countdown is on. You listen to this, the day this podcast drops, you get 2 weeks. Wow. This is just the first of many conversations we're going to have about this film and everything else is going to be coming up in the Dune universe. What's up next, Rod? I think it's about time we do a Dune commentary. Let's do a commentary on this film.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would love that.
I can't wait. Yeah, so we'll do an audio commentary. You guys can pop on HBO Max and you can watch it with us. That's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. Can't wait to do that. So that's going to be really cool. And after that, let's go back and watch Lynch. How about that?
Yeah, I think we can do that now.
Yeah, I think it's about time. We'll go back and watch Lynch. And of course, we're going to get back to Hunters of Dune. We have a bunch recorded for Hunters of Dune. Lots going to be dropping. Book 7 is going to be pretty exciting. We have a couple of hours already recorded on Hunters, so a lot to come there. But we'll see you guys next time on the Dune Cast.
Darkness and light.